Rome. The heart of an empire that stretched across continents, ruled by men born in the shadow of its marble halls, until a storm came out of Africa. Born in 145 AD in Leptis Magna, a sun-drenched city in what is now Libya, Septimius Severus was never supposed to rule the Roman world. He wasn't born into the imperial aristocracy. He didn't come from Rome. He wasn't even fully Roman by blood. But he had something that mattered more: ambition, military genius, and an iron will. They called him Libyan by race, and even centuries later you can almost hear the snarl in those words. But that didn't stop him. In fact, it may have fueled him. Severus came from a well-off family. Punics and Romans, merchants and equestrians. Respectable, not noble. But enough to get him into the Senate by the age of 28. That might sound impressive, but in the Roman world, it was just the starting line. He spoke Latin with an accent. He wore his North African pride like armor. And quietly, he watched as emperors rose and fell in blood-soaked corridors. By 190, he'd made consul. By 191, governor of Pannonia, Rome's rough frontier near the Danube, where soldiers followed the strongest voice, not the softest title. Then the empire cracked. 193 AD, the year of the 5 emperors. Yeah, 5. It was less like a government and more like a knife fight in a burning tavern. After the emperor Commodus was assassinated, his replacement, Pertinax, barely made it 3 months before he was murdered by his own guards. Those same guards then auctioned off the Roman throne. Literally. The winning bidder? Didius Julianus, a rich senator with deep pockets and no backbone. You can probably guess how long that lasted. From his post in Pannonia, Severus saw his opening. His legions proclaimed him emperor. He didn't ask permission. He marched. Julianus was executed. Severus entered Rome not just as a general, but as a conqueror. And the Praetorian Guard, the same ones who sold the empire, he fired them all. Actually, no. He disbanded them, then replaced them with his own loyal men from the frontier. If you're keeping score, that's how you flip the board. Of course, power never comes without challengers. 2 men dared to stand in his way: Pescennius Niger in Syria and Clodius Albinus in Britain. First, Severus turned east. At the Battle of Issus in 194, he crushed Niger, not gently either. His victory was followed by a purge. Dozens of senators who'd backed his rival were executed. Rome wasn't a democracy anymore. It was a military machine. And Severus was at the wheel. Next, he turned to Albinus. The two had a fragile alliance until Severus declared his son Caracalla as heir. Albinus took the bait, declared himself emperor, and they met at Lugdunum in 197. It was one of the bloodiest battles in Roman Civil War history. Albinus lost. Severus took his body, had it decapitated, and sent the head back to Rome. By the time Septimius Severus took the imperial throne, Rome wasn't just a city. It was a battlefield with marble columns. He didn't just win the throne, he conquered it. And now, it was time to keep it. Severus wasted no time reshaping the empire in his own image. First, he did something bold. He purged the Senate. Dozens of senators who had backed his rivals were put to death or exiled. The message was clear: oppose me, and you won't get a second chance. Then he turned to the Praetorian Guard, the imperial bodyguards who had literally auctioned off the throne to the highest bidder after Commodus's death. He disbanded the whole unit, executed the worst of them, and brought in his own battle-hardened troops from the Danube. They weren't pampered city boys. These were killers, loyal only to him. You could say Severus was like a man who just bought a used car and immediately changed all the locks. He knew what kind of rats had been inside. Severus wasn't content to rule Rome. He wanted to expand it. In the east, he launched an ambitious campaign against the Parthian Empire, Rome's old nemesis. Marching deep into enemy territory, he sacked Ctesiphon, the Parthian capital, and declared victory. Mesopotamia was added to the empire. To a Roman general, capturing Ctesiphon was like scoring a touchdown in enemy stadium, spiking the ball on the logo, and setting the stands on fire on your way out. But this glory came at a price. His campaigns were brutal. Thousands were killed, entire cities razed. Severus wasn't a man of mercy, he was a man of momentum. Severus may have been an emperor, but he was also a family man. And that was a problem. His wife, Julia Domna, was brilliant, politically savvy, and wielded enormous influence, so much so that she earned the title Mother of the Camps. But his two sons, Caracalla and Geta, hated each other like a bad Roman soap opera. They were supposed to co-rule after his death, but Severus knew deep down they'd tear each other apart. His solution? On his deathbed, he gave them this advice: stick together, pay the army, and ignore everyone else. Spoiler alert, they ignored that advice immediately. In 208, despite his age and poor health, Severus led a final campaign to Britain, fighting rebellious tribes in the north. He strengthened Hadrian's Wall and pushed deeper into Caledonia, modern Scotland. But the campaign was grueling, cold, muddy, unforgiving. In 211, Septimius Severus died in Eboracum, modern-day York, far from Rome, wrapped in furs, surrounded by generals, soldiers, and the drama of his feuding sons. It's almost poetic. The African emperor who conquered the empire died at the edge of the world, dreaming of conquests he'd never finish. Severus's reign ushered in the Severan dynasty, which ruled Rome for over 2 decades. He gave the army power it had never known before. Military pay was doubled, legal marriage allowed, and loyalty rewarded over birthright. But this shift also weakened traditional Roman institutions. The Senate? Marginalized? The old aristocracy? Diminished. Some historians blame Severus for laying the groundwork for Rome's decline: militarization, autocracy, and brutal suppression of dissent. Still, Severus's legacy endures. He built monuments like the Arch of Septimius Severus in Rome and transformed Leptis Magna, his hometown, into a marble masterpiece of Roman civilization on African soil. And though he was never a slave, his status as an outsider from provincial Africa made his rise seem impossible. That legend, that a man born on Rome's periphery could seize the throne, was powerful enough to outlive the truth. Septimius Severus wasn't born to rule. He clawed his way to the top with cunning, ambition, and a whole lot of blood. In a city that claimed to be the center of the world, he proved that the margins could rise. And for a moment, just a moment, the boy from Leptis Magna stood taller than Caesar, Augustus, or Nero. He wasn't just emperor, he was proof that Rome itself could be conquered.